In progress.
Okay, welcome everyone. Tonight is our public hearing roundtable. It is October 14th, 2025. This is a continuation of our September 23rd, 2025, 2 o'clock roundtable number 1 on our budget. That was for our revenue. Tonight is our roundtable number 2 on expenditures. So we are continuing that meeting. Let the record reflect that all 5 commissioners are present. And so we will start with standing for the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So, that will start. So we're going to have our second presentation tonight. So, yeah, you get to go first. You are the show, and then we'll do public testimony after you present.
Well, thank you all for being here. It's going to be an exciting evening. This is our second budget presentation going over the expenditure side. A few weeks ago, we were here to go over the revenue side. First is going to go over our process. You'll see at the beginning here we had our revenue projection, which is currently at $266 million. That includes the 2% increase that we talked about a while back. If we go back to spring, roughly March, April timeframe is when the board directed that we do flat budgets this year as a way to solve really the vast majority of the $20 million deficit that we're facing. And it is solving, 2/3 to 3/4 of the problem by requiring everybody to come in with a flat budget. The agency budget submissions come in by the end of July, where every department goes through their own budgets and presents them. The months of August, the budget office rolls those all up for the board. And then we present the first meeting right after Labor Day. And now we've gone through agency presentations and some budget office presentations. We're pretty much through all of the general fund presentations at this point. There's a couple coming back answering questions the board had. And then we have some non-general fund groups that'll be coming the next couple of weeks also. But as you all know, the general fund is the more challenging part of the budget. So we're on to the point now where we're going to start encouraging the board to be making some decisions. We'll be bringing different matrices before you to look at different ideas, see what more information is needed to be brought back for decisions to be made. But that is where we are in the process.
As a refresher, a couple weeks ago at roundtable number 1, we went over the 2026 revenue projections. And so on the right-hand side of the slide, you can see that we have a 2026 revenue projection of $266.3 million. The majority of the general fund revenues come from sales taxes, property taxes, and charges for services. Sales tax, we're projecting a 2% growth rate going into 2026. We're also looking to see an increase from the recently voted City of Spokane Valley public safety sales tax. And we're expecting some impact from the professional services tax, but we're not entirely sure what that will amount to financially yet. For property taxes, we have great new construction, $1.45 billion of new construction, which equates to approximately $1 million of additional revenue into the general fund. At this point, we have not assumed a 1% increase on property taxes into the general fund, and there is no assumption of a road shift built into these revenues. We are not seeing any significant changes in our charges for services or other revenues, and our other revenues are things like transfers in from other funds for mental health sales tax support, interest, fines in the court system, and different things like that. Next slide.
Yeah, can I ask a question? We should be, with the construction that occurred, we should be seeing, like you said, about $1 million increase in property tax, but you're carrying 25 over to 26. Doesn't reflect the $1 million. Is there something that I'm missing with regard to that?
There is a difference. So our projections are flat because in 2025, the commissioners didn't give the Veterans Fund. The Veterans Fund had a surplus of money. And so in 2025, we didn't give the Veterans Fund close to about $1 million. And we have put that into our equation for 2026. So we aren't netting a full $1 million. We're just offsetting that $1 million with the property tax
Thank you
increase for
very
new
much.
construction.
Thank you.
So this is a review slide. This is the one we've really looked at all year long. Starting, we had a $264 million before the 2% increase took us to the 266. And it just shows in the out years how if we don't do something, it gets worse each year. Because every year, generally speaking, if revenue goes up by 3 or 4%, our wages, salaries, and other inflationary factors usually go up by 7% or more. So it grows each year. The shaded area, the pink area on either side of the red and the light green, is a 5% variance, 2.5% on either side of the line, just to kind of show where it could be if we were off a little bit. The budget office has been very accurate the last 2 years. While Randy was here, the variance of the projection was right at 1%. You'll see over on the left-hand side, it was off by 1.1% and 0.9%. So the budget office projections have been very close. We were off a little bit on this year where we are projecting annual growth of less than 2%. We're actually a little bit over 2%. We're hovering about 3% right now on a rolling 12-month average year to date. If we flip to the next slide, you'll see how it impacts with the flat budget that has been the preliminary budget we're looking at with the flat budget coming in. So the 20 million gap was about 16 million of a reduction in expenditures in order to create room for wage growth, which a lot of places is contractually required. We just have to do it. Other cuts were made. And then we do have about 4 million additional sales tax we're looking at in 2026. And broadly speaking, those are the two factors that are closing the gap. You'll still see we have the 5% shaded area if we're off a little bit. But you will see in the out years, originally we had a $70 million issue. Now it's at $57 million if you go out to 2030. Just a reminder, we are required at the county level, just as at the state level, to pass a balanced budget. Only the federal government has the ability to spend a budget back with debt. So there's not a choice in whether we have a flat budget or not. It's just a matter of how we get there. Those are all the pieces on that slide.
Commissioner French, go ahead.
So we have a lot of new people in the audience, and so I want to provide a little bit of context, because if you look at that chart, you think, well, geez, the county just needs to start controlling its budget better. But the reality is that the state legislature and, for that matter, the state Supreme Court has adopted what they call caseload standards this year that's going to impact the county. Caseload standards talk about how many cases a public defender can handle at one time or in a year. And with the increase in that number, it means that we have to hire more attorneys. In fact, over the next potentially 10 years, we could have as many as 3 times as many attorneys as we have today. Well, that has a ripple effect in the prosecutor's office and the clerk's office and all the others. So some of this is reflecting issues that impact the county, but we have no control over, but we've got to figure out a way to pay for it. And so that's part of the challenge that chart reflects. Thank you.
And I'd say that's one very good example. There's many more we could talk about where we're required to do things as a county that the state requires, but the funding doesn't come with it. That's been a long-term problem.
Go ahead.
Thanks, Jeff and Tessa. I guess thanks for the graph. Do you think 7% each year? I know we had a lot of inflation over the last 3 years. Is the 7% still, and we've signed new contracts, or we're in the middle of signing contracts with a lot of our workforce. Is the 7% going forward still a reasonable number?
You'll see on here, we have projected at 6.8.
Okay.
We bring it down a hair. A lot of the new contracts were settled at 2.5% versus 3%.
Right.
So that will bring it down some, but we have the step charts. When you get hired, you get on. So the step increases are a set increase unless there was a change made to that. So it's a combination of the COLA, the step increase, and then really one of the biggest factors, which is out of our control, is the benefit side.
Benefit costs, okay.
Insurance costs are going up.
I know, I think I got an
Um,
email today that it's going up 8% for me to pay for my, kids,
Yeah.
each month, so.
And
yeah.
so with the insurance piece, I do think almost 7 in that range probably is accurate unless something were
So
to
the
happen.
insurance is partly to driving that.
It's a
okay.
big part of the driver, and it's one we have no control over at this point.
Thank you.
Alrighty. To offset our $266 million of revenue, we have set flat budgets for all departments to submit for preliminary roll-up to the commissioners. And those target budgets have amounted to an expenditure budget estimate of $259.6 million. The largest portion of the general fund is the justice system. That is 76.3%. With the current submissions, subject to change as we know, compared to 2025, it is up a hair as an overall percentage of the general fund. The justice system is made up of 2 primary parts, the public safety agencies as well as the true justice departments such as district court, superior court, public defense, Commissioner French that you were just describing, and the prosecutor's office. Public safety is things like the sheriff, detention services, operating our jail facilities, juvenile, medical examiner, all critical functions serving a wide range of public safety and criminal justice needs across Spokane County. General government is a much smaller portion of our budget, $53.9 million for 2026. That covers things like the assessor, the treasurer, the auditor, the budget office, and then we've got Parks and Recreation. They are a very teeny tiny budget at $4.3 million, and then some small other agencies, internal service type things at $3.4 million. Next slide. To further contextualize our expenses, we have broken out the 2026 preliminary and the 2025 adopted budget to show salaries and benefits. So the majority of our costs within each of our different programmed areas are people. So salaries and benefits is 67.8% of our current submitted preliminary budget. Supplies and services is just under 30%. That can range from things like the medical contract in the detention facilities, buying office paper and things like that, or software subscriptions for different necessary county functions. At this point, the 2026 preliminary budget does not incorporate any capital budget. The commissioners received a presentation yesterday about our capital asks for 2026, and so that part of the budget process is still ongoing, and we likely will see some capital expenditures in 2026 before our budget is adopted. We also have debt service costs, which is about 2.5%, and then a little bit of other to make 100% of the 2026 preliminary budget.
Madam Chair, just a quick, so this is the entire budget of the county or the general fund?
This is the general fund
Okay.
only. Yep, so this week we are focused just on the general fund.
Got it.
Roundtable number 3 will bring in some more information about all of our other funds as well.
So like when we are out paving roads and doing the public works, that's not reflected here
Correct.
as a supply or anything?
Correct.
Okay.
So if you think back to the first slide where you had BOCC decisions, that's kind of the point we're at. You'll see the challenge here is we have about $34 million worth of requests, about 6.7 million of capacity that you could spend without going into fund balance or reserves. What you'd call your savings account at home. The 6.7 million primarily comes from sales tax revenue coming in at a higher rate than we had originally anticipated. There's the new million of new construction that came online that Tessa mentioned earlier, and the new licensing fee that the state implemented. It'll be collected through the auditor's office. About $1 million of that is projected to stay in the county. And then other fees and charges would be the remainder. So there is some room to bring back some things that the board views as the highest priority, but as you can see, we can only handle maybe 20% of what the requests are. And then that shows roughly where the requests are from. So, the biggest portion, 24 million, comes out of the justice system. Recreation is 6.5 million, 3.3 million is more general government requests. And we'll start going through those requests over the next couple weeks. And slowly, we'll probably eliminate some and move others to the top of the priority list, get them arranged and see what's in, what's out. You'll probably also choose, as you have in years past, to keep some in a contingency just for unforeseen that comes up next year.
Question, Madam Chair. I know we'll talk more about it as we go, but just so I'm following, does the 34 million, is that only operational?
That one's actually both.
Okay, very good.
That one is operations and capital. So, we have had the discussion about bonding of recent. So some requests could end up in a bond if they meet the right requirements, and the board chose to go that way. And then, the 6.7 million is available for either.
Yeah.
It is considered ongoing revenue, that 6.7 million. Generally, we try to do one-time funds for capital. You, of course, could use it for capital, but it would all be available for ongoing operations too, so to speak, when you're making decisions.
Thank you.
Commissioner French.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So there's, on the previous slide, where you were showing the distribution of funds, I don't want the audience to miss an element here that's, I think, very critical and differentiates us from other counties in the state. When you look at the amount of debt service, 2.5% of our total revenue goes to service debt. We are very conservative with regard to taking on debt, and as a result of that, we have what's considered in the bond market AA+ credit rating. We are the highest credit rating that a county our size can have in the state of Washington, and it's because we are very, very conservative. We have very low debt level, and the majority, in fact, 97.5% of your taxpayer dollars go for services, don't go to lenders that are lending money to the county. So just want to make sure that point was made as well.
So the next slide will just show next steps. You'll see down at the bottom in the check marks, we did the revenue side of the equation back in September. Today's the expenditure side. On November 4th, we'll do what we call the budget roll-up, and that will include all of the budgets, public works, any other enterprise funds that have their own revenue source that pays for those services. On November 17th will be the property tax decisions, and ideally the bulk of budget decisions will be made at that date, because we'll shortly thereafter post it for the 10-day notice of public hearing before the final vote on December 1st, which by state law is the day we need to do this. And so we inquired as to whether it could possibly go earlier with the way Thanksgiving falls this year. It's kind of, we're going to come back the day after Thanksgiving break to do this, but we were declined by the legal team. Said it was not allowed under state law. Yes, so we need a new lawyer. But no, we appreciate you keeping us on the straight and narrow. So that is what is upcoming. Any other questions?
I think you're good. Thank you. Appreciate all the information. So this is a public roundtable and a public hearing. So I do have several people that have signed up to speak tonight. So as I call your name, I'll have you come up. You have about 3 minutes. I'm going to be a little, since it's a public hearing on this item, we'll make sure that everyone's heard. I'm just trying to think, is there anything else I need to say? But we are grateful for you to be here tonight so we can hear what your thoughts are as we make decisions on our budget. So I'm going to start with Johnny Ennis. And I just want to make sure, is it Roseanne Ennis?
Jezerina?
Jezerina.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, who also provided testimony. So I didn't know if you wanted to speak as well.
I won't be speaking. I can't appear to be coming off as representing my office.
Okay, so
So that is personal testimony
Okay.
about my position to be totally clear.
thank you. I just want to make sure, since the two of you are here, that's written testimony that we have received, so for this. Perfect. Thank you. Okay, so Johnny, if you just want to state your name and kind of location of where you're at, and then thank you for your service. I'll start with that.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, Board of Commissioners, for allowing me this time to talk. My name is Johnny Ennis. I'm a member of the Air National Guard out here at Fairchild. However, I'm not representing them, so excuse me for being in uniform. I rushed over here after work to make it to this, and I met my wife and kids in the parking lot so we could get in here on time. And thank you, everybody else, for your time and for your support and involvement with your community out here in Spokane County. Where do I begin? This is kind of out of my comfort zone. I've never done anything with the county, so I'm just here really today to advocate for my wife. She does work for the Spokane County Medical Examiner's Office here, and I've seen all the hard work she's done. And I can see the passion that she has and the professionalism, and I do know quite a few law enforcement officers in the community, with the city, with the county, with Washington State Police, and a lot of my family's also involved in law enforcement. My dad was, my brother's a deputy for Spokane County here, so we have a lot invested in our community here. And really the thing I want to highlight is I did see in the upcoming budget projections that it's projected that they're going to cut one of the deputy medical legal death investigator positions for the office out here, which is a beautiful facility. I know that was just recently built. I had a great conversation with Commissioner French, so thank you for taking my call with that, and encouraged me to be more involved. And I don't know much about that business, just seeing my wife, how excited she is to go to work. She has a big passion for her job. And just talking to some of the law enforcement officers that she works with, and some of the people that she knows that work at the funeral homes, just all the positive things they have to say about her work there. And I could always count on somebody to say something positive about Roseanne there. And I'm glad she found that passion. Just some of the concerns I have with that position being cut is I have seen her come home sometimes drained from being exhausted from overly worked. There's been several times where she's been on shift for over 24 hours by herself because of the low manning there. And if someone calls out sick or something happens, like every other job, they have really limited personnel that are capable of doing that job with the certifications that they have to get, and just the vast wealth of knowledge they need to know about crime scenes, the medical portion of it, how to investigate it properly, how to dig into medical records. It's really a wide scope of things that they need to be professionals in and have a good breadth of knowledge in. And so there has been a few times where she's come home because she's had extended shifts. And I just think that if we were to cut a position at her office, that would make it a lot harder for everybody else that works there with being overtasked. It'll put a strain on the community with getting reports done quickly and getting things coordinated with other agencies, and it could slow down some of the cases with the county as far as law enforcement goes. And I'd really hate to see that happen, and just seeing everybody start to get buried in this domino effect that would happen from that. So I hope you would reconsider cutting that for the budget. I know you guys have a lot you have to deal with that, and it's no easy task, and I'm sure you guys will make the best decision possible. And I see my time's over, so thank you for your time.
Thank you. No, we appreciate that, and that's part of, I think, what our budget team is showing is that we have a few things that we can, as they were saying, buy back, and so that's why this is a really great conversation for all of us to have and for the public to be here so we can listen. So thank you. Next, then, I have Ann Alexander.
Alexander, I live in Liberty Lake. I sent all of you an email a long time ago about funding for extension programs after I listened to one of the presentations where you didn't seem to have all of the information that I have as a master gardener and part of the extension. I wanted to come today, and after hearing the doom and gloom of the budget, I realize what a difficult situation you have, but I want to remind you that the extension programs are run by volunteers, so a small amount of money really gets amplified. So when you cut our budget by 40% or something like that, you're cutting much more of the work because so much is done by volunteers. And we're doing things that really help the community. It helps the youth, it helps elderly. It gets people off of their phones and together so that they actually have some interactions with people. And we're doing things that really help the community too. As I said in my letter, we teach classes to help people protect their houses from fires, knowing what kind of plants and where to plant them, how to spray properly so they don't contaminate the water and with pesticides. And I know so many times just talking to friends of mine, and they'll say, something's wrong with my plant, I'm going to fertilize it. And I'm going, do you know you need to fertilize it? You know, or I'm going to spray whatever I can get to get rid of this bug. What bug is causing the problem? So people, because we have the internet, doesn't make us any smarter. In fact, there's probably more misinformation out there now than there was 100 years ago when the extension started in Washington. The extension has been here since 1913, and it's called cooperative because it is the national, state, and local getting together, giving information, research-based information specific to the locality. We're teaching people how to live well in Spokane, not Seattle. They have their own extension. So I just really want to encourage you not to cut the budget so much because you might be cutting even more than you think by knocking out so many volunteers. Thank you.
Thank you. So that's going to take me to Marcia Sands.
Hi, thank you for having us. And, you know, I want to thank you all. I didn't realize, who am I? I'm Marcia Sands.
Pull the microphone down, so.
There you go. Perfect.
Okay, I'm Marcia Sands, and I'm in South Spokane Valley, so District 4. And I'm also a master gardener, and I'm here to advocate for the extension program also. The extension is a very small part of really the smallest part of the budget you're talking about here tonight, but every dollar you invest comes back to the county. It really does. And we have 150-ish any given year volunteers. Some of us put in 400 to 800 hours per year. It's a lot of time, a lot of work, and a lot of effort, and it's all to help educate our community on research-based gardening. So, Gardening, quality of life. Who doesn't garden here? Is there anybody who's not a gardener? Quality of life, what does that mean to Spokane County? It means we all have a better place to live. A better place to live means more revenue for the county, too. So it all works down to dollars. One of the things I've learned in watching quite a bit of your budget process online is you guys have some really, really hard decisions to make. I would not want to be in your shoes. I realize that none of this is easy. But we're here to advocate because we think it's important. One of the questions that was asked was, what are other counties doing? They're all over the board. We have a lot of communications with the other counties. Some counties don't even have a Master Gardener program because they don't support it. And that's sad. You know, it's sad for the county, it's sad for the citizens of that county. And lastly, I would like to say, if you would like more information about the Spokane County Master Gardener program or the extension, I mean, we're advocating for the whole extension. 4-H kids are amazing. They come in and give us some talks sometimes on internet safety. Those kids are amazing. You should have them here. But we would be happy to provide a brief PowerPoint at any meeting that you'd like. So just ask us.
Thank you. We appreciate that. And we may take you up on that. So next I have Pat Muntz.
I am Pat Muntz, live in the South Valley. I've been in Spokane for 50 years. And I'm speaking tonight in favor of accepting the extension budget as it is presented. I am a 15-year veteran of extension. I was the Small Farms and Urban Ag Coordinator for 15 years and retired about 4 years ago. I'm also a 23-year Master Gardener. But what I'd like you to see in extension is that the amount of money that goes into extension programs is magnified, as was said. But it helps a lot on long-term economic development, long-term quality of life, long-term free access to research-based information so that what they're getting is accurate. And it's the kind of thing that we won't see maybe immediate results, but it's an important investment in the county. One of the things that I did when I was with Extension was help facilitate the foundation of the Link Co-op, which is now helping small farmers who direct market their products to the community to gather their crops and animals and then market them back in a efficient manner. One immediate thing about that program was that when the pandemic began, the Link farmers and other groups in the area were able to, within a week, start providing food boxes to people who suddenly found themselves without a job. And without that resource, we would have had people who were hungry for multiple weeks before the other agencies managed to get their act together and get boxes here. We, in my position, I worked with the weed board to help people manage noxious weeds and find ways to combat them so that they didn't come back, something that the weed board doesn't generally have time to do. I offered and taught beginning farming classes so that people who were interested in farming could learn how to start the basics with proven information and become vital members of the community to provide food and care for land as well as care for their families. This is a long-term investment. And I think the few dollars that go into the extension programs are well worth looking at from the long term. And this includes charging full rent for the extension office. As it is now, the programs, master gardeners, and the like raise funds to help their programs. But if they have to divert funds to pay rent, that's just undermining programs that are too valuable for the community to lose. So I stand in support of the extension budget and request that you relook at the rent being charged by for the extension building. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, this is open public forum for discussion on the budget. Is there anyone else? That's everyone that I have who is signed up to testify. Is there anyone else who would like to testify? And is there anyone online? I don't see anyone online. Anyone else in the audience? Second call? No one online. Third and final call for anyone wishing to speak. Okay, then for tonight, I am going to be continuing this public hearing to November 4th, 2025, to our 2 o'clock meeting, where we'll have a roundtable number 3 to talk about our budget roll-up. So at this point, I will end this portion of the meeting and we'll...
Madam Chair, can I make one little comment in
yes.
response to the testimony? I just want to thank the folks who came and testified and just ask that Jeff, I know you'll do this, but just making the request that when we go back through the opportunities to buy back some of the cuts, that you help the commissioners really understand where an active FTE could be impacted, right? A person who's in the job now, I know that we have tried to prioritize reductions with attrition, retirements, et cetera, but I just think it's important we're really clear on that as we make those choices, so thank you.
Yes, thank you. And Commissioner French.
So over the many years that I've participated in the budget process, I can say without hesitation that staff continues to up their game every year. You make this very complicated issue with competing interests very understandable, and not only to, I think, the board, but to the public. And so I just want to compliment you on your communication skills and your ability to reflect difficult topics in a very forthright and understandable way. And for those that are in the audience that actually follow this process, God bless you. Thank you. I mean, sometimes we wonder if we're not just talking to each other and the rest of the world is saying, well, we're going to ignore them. But the fact that you're out there and you're actually following this stuff, kudos to you. This is, we get paid to do this. You don't. And so thank you very much for having the interest in your county and county government and holding us accountable. I really appreciate it. And so keep it up.
Yes, I will say thank you for coming down. I know Pat and I had seen each other at an event, and she was wondering how to come down and talk to us. And so this is the way to do it, or you know, any of us outside of here. So, but this is the budget process, and we do want to hear what's important to the citizens. So thankful for everybody who's come down and testified tonight. And with that, then we will continue this meeting to November 4th, 2025 at our 2 o'clock roundtable budget number 3 for the budget roll-up. So thank you all for being here.